Brodes Media.
The Phillies needed two things: Hoagie Fest and getting back to South Philadelphia. 18 hits, including 2 bombs from Kyle. Obviously, there was never a doubt. Hoagie Fest, June, Kyle Schwarber, nukes. They all go together. It's one. Guy's ridiculous. Boom with the homer. Ridiculous. Nicky doubles back in action. Ridiculous. Trea Turner back in the lineup. Multi-hit day. Ridiculous. Marchand 4 for 4, including a beautiful strike him out, throw him out down in second base for one of 4 double plays. So good game for the Fightins, and they desperately needed it, considering, well, it's been ugly when they were away from Citizens Bank Park. What we witnessed and what we saw happen in Boston, the final game in London, in Baltimore, they needed something to spark adrenaline. And maybe it was a nice standing O for Trea Turner coming back in the lineup, and that was enough to get the fellas rocking. Christopher Sanchez, what a damn effort. 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, and 1 walk. He got some good defense behind him, which matters, but he's also not afraid to pitch to contact, have his defense help him out. Let's get a nice 5 or 3 double play, you name it. Smooth. I was informed that the reason Zach Wheeler stunk is because JT is that much different of a caller of the game. No. Marchand can call a frickin' game. Stubbs can call a game. It's the pitcher. Are you executing or are you not? Is it one of those days where you're failing just a bit and your location's off, or are you a force? And in this one, Christopher Sanchez was obviously a force. Now, before first pitch, we got the news that Johan Rojas got optioned to AAA. And obviously, there's multiple different reasons on why that is. Pache and the fact that he's got no options left, I think that played a role. But reality is, his defensive metrics that was thrown down our throat all offseason long by Dave Dombrowski and by the Phillies organization, it didn't really live out. It didn't play out at all. He made some sloppy mistakes out there, and yeah, you know what? So did Brandon Marsh when he boots a ball. It ends up scoring a run. Okay, but he also has a ridiculous double in the 7th that Johan Rojas can't do. Has Johan Rojas improved? Has he done anything better and taken real strides? Because I actually think defensively it's gotten worse. And then you're seeing the dysfunction on the bases. I don't know if he's afraid to get picked off, if he's afraid to get too much of a lead, if he's putting so much pressure on himself that he's taking himself out of his own game. But it wasn't too long ago, a few nights ago, where he gets thrown out. What was that, the first game against the Baltimore Orioles, where he should have been able to score? He didn't. He got out at home. Why? Well, we were told that the Phillies weren't very happy with him with his lack of secondary lead. That's a problem. We needed real improvement. You knew what you had to work on last year. You were overpowered and overmatched in the playoffs. Unplayable. Should have been pinched hit for in the 4th inning with bases loaded, but who am I to judge? No, I'll judge. I'll judge. He should have been pinched hit for. But I digress. It makes sense. I can make the argument that he didn't even deserve the job prior to the season beginning. But I do have to go back to this, though. As much as I'm not the biggest Johan Rojas fan in the world, if Nick Castellanos was hitting 270, hitting 265 with an absurd amount of power, if left field, if Whit Merrifield could be slotted into the outfield and actually contributing, if they weren't as desperate as they are to get some version of contribution out of their outfield offensively, maybe you could live with Rojas as your 9-hole hitter being overpowered still. And I'm just saying, maybe what factored into this is his teammates out in the outfield have stunk. Now, if Rojas did his job, if Rojas got better, if Rojas could actually hit and actually defend and actually give you an advantage on the bases more than he has this year and not be afraid to get picked off, then he'd still be here when it's all said and done. So I don't want to make it seem like it's the others that screwed him. He screwed himself. But it didn't help. When Bryce Harper hit a double, more times than not, we see a healthy Trea Turner score from where he was on the bases. But when you watch the replay, there was a bit of a 80% effort type of deal. And it's not for laziness purposes by any means. It seemed like maybe it was an approach as an organization to take it slower. Hey, make sure you don't go overboard. Make sure you don't put too much on the hamstrings. Don't try and do too much. If you can, hold up. Don't worry about it. We'll live with an out or a missed run scored for you to get back and stay healthy and feel good for a couple of games. Let's just get some innings under your belt. But then there was some speculation that, are we putting him in a position to succeed if we're asking him to not go 100? If he can't go 100, why is he out there? Now, I don't feel that strongly about it. I'm totally okay with him playing. And if he's being held up with a Bryce Harper double and it's Bryce and Trea sitting on second and third, and I'm okay with that. Knowing the circumstances of Trea just getting back from the injured list, I got no issue with it. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I understand what they're trying to do, and I think Trea is clearly at a high enough percentage where it makes sense for him to get at-bats again, for him to take some ground balls. How about that play for the game to end? The diving play to his left, he flips it to second base. Nice double play. Did I have to deal with the misfortune again of a horrendous umpire? Sadly, yes. What the hell is going on? Why do we have incompetent pieces of trash behind the plate? When is enough? It's ridiculous. There's a breaking ball that's 6 feet below the strike zone. I mean, some of these pitches are actually stupid. There are pitches that are hitting middle in, and it's called a ball. And then now the Padres are getting a hit. Regardless of what the score ends up being. It ends up being 9-2. So it was a beatdown. And you spanked them. But you don't know that in the second inning. You don't know that in the third inning. You don't know that when it's a 2-0 ball game. So if you're going to give the Padres life for being horrible at your job, and now Sanchez has to deal with it, but to Sanchez's credit, the fact that he goes 1 walk, 1 earned run, it's pretty remarkable how fantastic he's been. So Phillies Notes tweeted this out. Kyle Schwarber has 60 career home runs in June in 172 games. That is the fastest 60 home runs in June in Major League Baseball history. Some guy named Mike Piazza, I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, he had 60 home runs in 191 games. So essentially, Kyle Schwarber did it in 20 less games. The only player in MLB history to reach 60 home runs in fewer games than Schwarber in June in any month was Juan Gonzalez in August with 167 games. So 5 games less than Schwarber. I don't know. I mean, that's just the breakdown. I don't know. I don't know how it's done. But it keeps getting done at this time of the year. It's mid-June, a little past mid-June. Hoagie Fest comes, and the guy's outrageous. He's outrageous. The Rojas thing, just from an overhead view as the decision, it says a lot. It says a lot. It's the ownership and Dave Dombrowski admitting they were wrong because they gave this kid a super long leash regardless on what they say about what he does in the minors, if he could bunt, if he could do this, if he could work on that. Yeah, well, you're asking him to work on 3 phases of his game. Do you know how much that is? You're asking him to bunt, you're asking him to do this, that, the other. I mean, he had all offseason to learn how to bunt. He had all offseason to learn how to improve on his craft, and now he just hasn't been able to do it efficiently enough at this time, or excuse me, at this stage. With this much time and opportunity. It's given a long window. And I never thought that they'd actually break. I thought they'd go down saying, well, this was our blueprint. To their credit, they're willing to adjust on the fly. And they're pretty desperate. So what I expect is some moves here prior to the deadline going after Luis Robert. Go listen to what's being said nationally on all these MLB Sirius XM radio hits or these MLB Central, MLB Network hits. Dave Dombrowski's on the prowl, and a lot of GMs are speaking to media members saying, yup, Dave's calling. Yup, Dave is looking for outfielders, looking to really upgrade that outfield position. They need more. So I like the fact that they're willing to admit that this isn't working with an organization and with Rob Thompson, who's willing to stick with his guys almost to a fault. He almost goes too much with it, where he lives and dies with it so much that he actually dies with it sometimes. They're not dying with it this time. So I give them credit. But it says a lot about how bad he's been, because they wouldn't do this unless he was that egregious.